Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Phoenix Raceway for the season finale here in the Lodgebox Series, race 17 of our season, and the finale is tonight. Join up in the booth as always with producer Harold Darnard. Harold, we got a pretty good race on our hands for tonight to get to try to settle out who's going to become the first ever Lodgebox Series champion.
Yeah, the Xfinity cars are out here tonight, and these guys are going to put us on a show. I believe each of the four drivers has won at least one race in the Xfinity Series, so each one capable of being the champion tonight. But this one is to be the first one to the flag man out of the yellow drivers to get home the trophy.
Yep, yeah, and it's definitely a good Final Four. One exception there is Shane Theron. He wasn't able to make it to victory lane this season, but he has been probably the most consistent driver that we've seen outside of our big three, I like to call him. You got Cameron Hearn, obviously, with 7 wins on the year. Definitely the big favorite coming in, but also Alan Elwood. He was able to pick up 2 victories en route to get here. David Weishart was able to pick up a victory, and then Shane Theron, that fourth driver, no victory on the year, but 11 top 10s, second most in the series. So he's definitely deserving of a spot, and tonight he's got a chance to compete with those other 3 drivers and see who can win the championship, and it's definitely going to be something to keep our eyes out for.
And we saw Fambro running great in the trucks yesterday. He's here as well. And Travis Beckner, before he had some issues on the racetrack, was running up towards the front. So those 2 guys can go and do what Cameron did last night and end up being a spoiler and prevent one of the championship contenders from winning the event and the championship.
Yeah, and you got to look at the other guys too, like James Scioli, Connor Okrezik, Danny Ware, Travis Beckner. A lot of guys in here with speed that necessarily aren't in the Final Four, but could definitely play upset. But when you look at the practice chart, no surprise who's up top. 1, 2, 3 is championship eligible drivers, and Alan Elwood, Cameron Hearn, Shane Theron. David Weishart, about a 10th off of the top time back there in the 6th spot. But I'm sure that's something we're going to see all night long, is the trend of these 4 drivers up front.
You know, we saw yesterday the 4 championship contenders were 1, 2, 3, 4 on the track for over 30 plus laps until a caution came out and took the rear of the 4 drivers out of the race.
Absolutely. So let's get a chance here to introduce you guys a little bit more to our championship 4 drivers, and we'll start here with Cameron Hearn tonight. He comes in, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, 7 wins on the year. He got 1 at Richmond, 1 at Atlanta, Darlington, Dover, Las Vegas, Auto Club, and Homestead. Homestead being his first win of the season that led him to this point. So those 7 victories came with a lot of playoff points and gave him a really good cushion coming into the playoffs, Harold.
Yeah, Cameron Hearn, definitely the cream of the crop, was at one point showing that he wasn't going to let anybody win a race.
Yeah, that middle of the season, especially in the mile-and-a-half tracks, he definitely went on a tear, and a lot of drivers weren't nearly as quick as the 15's been, but tonight he's not the top of the charts just yet, so we're going to have a fight on our hands. And the guy who is on the top of the charts, Alan Elwood, the number 49 for VRA. Elwood's had a pretty solid year to his own credit as well. He's got 2 victories. He picked up his first one back at the Daytona Road Course in December. Win number 2 coming early February, 2 weeks ago at Michigan, to lock himself into the Final Four. We got a chance to talk to him after that race, Harold. He was pretty pumped up.
Yeah, punching his ticket. He was having as you were saying, you know, as a driver and well known in the group of drivers here as somebody who can win week after week, having nothing but bad luck in the beginning of the season, and needed that to punch his ticket to get into the playoffs to basically restart his season and get back in the right direction.
And another thing to Alan's credit is his amazing ability in qualifying. He's got 4 poles on the year coming at Pocono, Darlington, Las Vegas, and Homestead. But in total, 16 races, his average start is down to 4.31, by far the best in the series. I believe it actually might be the best in all of area as well. So Alan Elwood, quick in practice, quick in qualifying, quick on the racetrack. And he, the Ohio native, is going to try to get home the first championship of the Lodgebox series. And then our third driver in the Final Four, David Weishart. He was able to pick up his lone win on the season all the way back at Pocono in December, and that victory gave him a really good jump on the playoffs, but he's also been super consistent this season with 10 top 5 finishes and 15 starts. David Weishart comes in as what I would call the last of the big three. If you look at Alan Elwood, Cameron Hearn, and then Mr. Weishart, who we got on screen right now.
Yeah, look at his car.
Yeah, I saw that earlier in practice. He's got the next gen or bust cars, so he's pushing for those next gen cars to find their way into area pretty hard.
I don't know. He's pushing his case. I see.
Oh yeah, he wanted it to be very vocal there in the number 2, but nonetheless, he is one of the Final Four drivers, and as I mentioned, those 10 top 5 finishes really propelled him to a strong season. 259 laps led, very clean season as well. Not a lot of incidents that he's had on track that's led him to this point.
You know, you gotta love it when we have people in Twitch chat that actually check our stats. Brad wanted to point out that he had a 4.05 starting position during his season. He had to one up you there, didn't he? All right, Brad.
Slaughter.
Yeah.
Slaughter he's a good qualifier as well. I'll throw it in there since that's what he wants to hear. But then we'll get to our 4th and final driver here out of the championship 4. Looks like he's heading to victory lane already, Harold. It's Shane Theron in the number 38. I think he's trying to stake his claim.
Yeah, this is a called shot, right? Is that what this is?
Oh, looks like he hit an invisible wall there and won't let him go any further.
Danny Ware's coming with him.
So this is something I haven't seen. I guess they don't open up victory lane till after the race, because we saw in the truck series race last night, Brad Slaughter was able to put his truck in victory lane literally on the racetrack. But I guess it's something you can't do in practice, maybe for good reason. But Shane Theron, nonetheless, our 4th and final championship 4 drivers. No wins on the season. 2 second-place finishes, though, Harold, at Dover and Auto Club, and 11 top 10s, as I mentioned, to get him to this point. So not been able to cross the stripe first just yet, but hopefully he can get it done tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to have a race within a race tonight. The first driver to cross to get the checker flag gets the race win, but the first of the 4 drivers listed in yellow will take home the championship cup, and we'll have one of our race directors come in and present that tonight during interviews post-race.
Yeah, so we'll get a chance to check in with series director Rafe Slate, who's been calling these races all season long here in the Lodgebox series, and he'll get to present the trophy to whoever ends up crossing the finish line first. Actually, yes, they don't have to win, do they, Harold? They could be just the best of the names in yellow, like you said.
That's what happened last night. With Slaughter was in 3rd overall and won the race. So, or what? It was 3rd and so he won the championship. And it was Fambro, and it was 2nd, and Hearn was the race winner. So, but it's unusual because we're so used to NASCAR, whereas the guy winning the race is also the guy that wins the championship. So, a little spoiled, I guess.
Well, tonight, I do think tonight, if I had to make the guess, I would say they probably have to win the race tonight if they want to bring home the title. Just looking at the field we have in the Final Four and the amount of wins between those big 3 of Hearn, Elwood, and Theron. I mean, they've combined for 10 wins on the year out of 16 races. But you never know. James Scioli, he won last week at Kansas. He could definitely play an upset, and he's 4th in practice.
There's some very big drivers here that have that ability to make the upset there. But those are on your screen in the yellow, and in the box there are our 4 playoff contenders looking for that trophy to cap off their season for season 1 here for ARIA iRacing League for the Lodgebox series.
Yeah, and we saw last night, Virtual Racing Alliance had 2 drivers in the Championship 4. They have 2 drivers in the Championship 4 tonight as well. Alan Elwood and Shane Theron both driving for VRA. Cameron Hearn, the lone driver for Infinite Gaming in this series. And then David Weishart, who's a Samson affiliate, technically not a Samson driver in the Lodgebox series. He's technically a David Weishart racing driver, but we know he'll be working with those Samson cars of Garrett Grant and then James Shanewolf as well. And Ed Robertson. Got to throw him in there. So that'll be a good storyline for tomorrow night as well, Harold. We got 4 Samson cars going for the Cup Series title.
Yep, Samson and affiliates, exactly, I guess.
Yep.
Robertson's an affiliate in the Cup Series, right?
Yeah, so Robertson, he is a Samson driver down here in the Lodgebox series. And then in the Cup Series, it was just a part-time schedule, so he wasn't a team points driver, but definitely still a Samson affiliate like you mentioned there. So practice has concluded, and it looks like we're going to get set to qualify these race cars and see where everybody's going to start for the final race of the season.
Yep. So 2 laps, solo, old school style to set the grid for the final time for the Lodgebox series for season 1. And, Jake, as we're waiting for these guys to get out on the racetrack, we started this thing, if I want to say we were starting to talk about this at the end of the summer. It took till mid to late fall to actually get it all mustered together, because I know we talked a couple times about when we were going to start.
Yep. Yeah, definitely had a lot of work going into this, but looks like we have Garrett Grant, I think, first car on track with Ed Robertson here to qualify. You got the number 5 up there from New Albany, Indiana. Garrett definitely was close to making the Final Four. One of those drivers who could have easily snuck in, but wasn't able to get it done. It went to Shane Theron. And really, Harold, I think when you look at those guys in the Final Four, Shane Theron is pretty interchangeable with a few other guys that definitely deserved a shot at this Final Four. You could have thrown James Shaneworth maybe even in there, Garrett Grant. A lot of guys were contending for that final spot, but ultimately the 38 got it. And Garrett Grant on his first lap is going to post a 28.16. We'll see if he picks up on lap 2.
Yeah, he was sliding through the start-finish line at the end of the lap. Here he holds it, but he still sees wicked loose coming off the corner, and he does put up a faster lap of 26.645.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of these drivers talking about the handling of this race car, the Xfinity car specifically around this track. Very, very loose, very tough to get a hang of, and I think we'll see a lot of these guys sliding around all night long. Here you see Jordan Martin, number 02, getting set for his qualifying lap. It looks like he's actually going to roll through the top side of turn 3 and 4 and build up some momentum coming to take the green.
It was pretty good there at the start-finish line. Had it set up to get that cut down to the dog leg as he comes around for the final corner here, the 3 and 4, and see what he puts up for a time. But Jordan Martin, also one of those drivers that could upset the final 4 guys.
Yep. Griffin, Georgia native is going to cross the stripe on lap number 1, and he is going to go to the top of the charts with a 27.62, just barely edging out Garrett Grant right now for the current pole position.
First of our championship contenders pulling out now. Cameron Hearn, you said something yesterday about you to waited a little later, and it seemed like yesterday everybody was also out pretty early.
Yeah, typically my strategy for qualifying, if I was a driver in this series, would be to try to wait till that sun goes down, lower the track temp maybe a few degrees, and just give you a little extra grip, especially tonight where the cars seem like they're sliding around a ton. I think that'd be something we see a lot of drivers use. As you can see, the sun reflecting off the side of Cameron Hearn's car there as he's coming to start his qualifying effort. Pretty cool to see all the graphics we got set up here in the iRacing simulator. But yeah, no, definitely think the advantage would be to make your qualifying run a lot later on in the session.
Andrew Player to the top. News from the garage. Championship contender David Weishart elects not to qualify.
There we go. So second time we've seen that from David Weishart this season. He's going to go ahead and elect to start in the back. And how about lap number 1 for Cameron Hearn? 27.16. One of the fastest laps we've seen so far in this session. He's going to go straight to the top of the charts. Only 2 drivers ran a faster lap in practice than the 27.16, and it was both Cameron Hearn and Alan Elwood. So pretty safe time for the 15 to assume he would be starting on the front row.
And looks like Rick Christensen manually disconnected. Wonder if he's having some connection issues. The number 19 car.
And here comes the sleeper pick tonight, Shane Theron. One of the drivers you definitely can't count out for this championship. He's going to go ahead and start his qualifying efforts here tonight for the final race.
With Weishart electing to go from the rear of the pack, I wonder, is that, is it going to be conserving tires, fuel? I mean, you were on the track. I thought with Ken yesterday when we were up here, and there's Shane Theron sliding around. That's going to be, he's going to have to get another car and start over. We got Kyle Okresic sitting there on pit lane.
definitely playing with fire there, Shane Theron was, because we saw a sideways he got. A lot of times iRacing will just go ahead and disqualify you in qualifying if they see you sliding your tires that much, thinking you're trying to find some sort of advantage, but did not get the black flag from iRacing, so he's going to get a chance to set up for lap number 2.
Yeah, that's the question I was asking you, though, is, this track was always known as being abrasive, so tire fall off looked pretty big last night. 2-3 seconds towards the end of the run.
Oh, for sure. I agree with you on that. I think the tire fall off is going to be key. And, to your original question, is David Weishart starting in the back to try to conserve tires? I'm not sure. I honestly think he's might be a little concerned with how free these cars have been, that he wants to be able to see the wreck happening in front of him in case there is that early caution and be able to slow down and survive it. So maybe that's the strategy play there for Weishart. Try to keep that race car in one piece so you can be there for the end of the race here tonight. Shane Theron's going to post a lap time and tie Andrew Player to the 1,000th of a second, 27.365. It's going to put him in the third spot, though, give the tiebreaker to Andrew Player, so he must have been a millionth of a second quicker.
Yep, so that takes care of that. We got Connor Okrezik and Fambro out now. We go to here to the number 14 of Connor Okrezik, sorry.
Yeah, Kresik's been so fast all season long, but just has had a lot of bad luck, a lot of pit road speeding penalties, things like that pretty much end his night when he has a chance to win. He was able to pick up a victory back in Nashville, his only win on the year. Other than that, though, for the 14, no victories this season. Hopefully tonight he can put everything together and maybe play a little bit of spoiler to the championship 4.
Guess he didn't like what he saw there, and he decided to stop the car and start again.
Yeah, I do think a lot of these guys are, they have marks that they're trying to hit in qualifying. They want to be this mile per hour coming out of turn 2. They have a certain speed they think they need to be to set up for the fastest possible qualifying lap. So maybe that's what we saw there for Okrezik, and he's going to try to reset and do it all again. Colin Fambro puts up his first lap, and it's about a second and a half off the whole time. So definitely was probably setting up here for lap 2 to be his quickest, as he's coming now through turn 3 and 4 to complete his qualifying efforts. The number 24, who had a really good run last night in the Northern Capital Truck Series finale as well, he is going to go to second on the charts, 27.32 for Colin Fambro.
The last of our championship 4 drivers to come up onto the track for qualification is Alan Elwood. And you said that he's done a pretty good job of being up front, averaging about 4 or better on the grid throughout the season.
Yeah, Alan Elwood's been one of the fastest guys in qualifying all season long, something that's definitely helped him get to this point. He's got 4 starts on the pole this season in that number 49 Toyota Supra, and then another 5 starts in second. So he started on the front row 9 times this season out of his 16 races, and we'll see if he can continue that streak tonight. So he's rolling through turn 1 and 2 for his first qualifying lap. And he's not liking what he's seeing, Harold. He's also going to reset right before the stripe and try to set up for lap 2.
Yep, so he goes off. Danny Weir also reset. So back to Alan Elwood. Cameron Hearns sitting on top. Scioli ended up putting up the second fastest time while we were talking. So that puts Shane Theron all the way back to the 5th position, starting inside of row 3.
Good lap there from last week's winner, James Scioli. Again, it looks like Elwood's just slowly rolling through the corner, coming to start his lap to try to cut off as much time as possible there by going down below the apron. See if the strategy works out for him here as he's rolling through 1 and 2. Looking a lot more competitive this time around.
Well, regardless, he's going to have to take it this time.
Yeah, no other choice now. He's already started his final lap. This is going to have to be the money lap for him. Rolling through turn 3 and 4. Just as qualifying's about to end. Alan Elwood, he is not going to make it.
Wow. I'm sure he wasn't expecting that.
So we'll have 2 Championship 4 drivers starting from the rear tonight in the 49 of Alan Elwood and the number 2 of David Weishart, as the qualifying session just ended before he was able to complete his second lap. Here's our starting grid tonight. Championship 4 driver Cameron Hearn is going to roll off from the pole position just outside of him. He's going to be last week's winner, Ioli, in the number 7. Row 2, you got Colin Fambro in the number 24. And Andrew Player with a really good qualifying effort. He's going to roll off 4th. Row 3, Shane Theron, the second of our Championship 4 drivers tonight. He's going to start from the 5th spot, and outside of him, the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series champion, James Shanewiff, is going to start 6th. Row 4, you got Danny Ware, second place last night in the Northern Capital Truck Series season. And Forrest Smith is going to roll off P8. And then the final top 10 starters, Jordan Martin in the 02 and Garrett Grant in the number 5.
And finishing up in row 6 inside is Connor Okresic. Outside of him is champion contender David Weishart. In row 7 inside is number 49 of Alan Elwood. And outside of him is Ed Robertson, Rick Christensen, and Travis Beckner will be on the shotgun. And 15th and 16th as we get ready to go green here.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go green. Couple guys really slow rolling off a pit road. It was Jordan Martin in the 02, wasn't able to get his car to fire. Luckily, he gets rolling there, and it's going to get the back half of the field up here at the very last possible moment. It's Rick Christensen, Alan Elwood, Connor Okresic. Those 4 guys are just now rolling up to the field. Pace car is already in, and it's the long wait down this back straightaway as you see the few guys in the back just scrambling up to catch up. We got Cameron Hearn, James Scioli. The championship race here in Phoenix is officially underway. They hit the restart zone. Cameron Hearn fires off.
Already running single file, the top 3 drivers, and then starting to get a gaggle behind them.
Yeah, and we saw how loose this track was in practice. A lot of 2 and 3 wide racing. I see Travis Beckner putting David Weishart 3 wide going into turn 3 and 4, all the way at the back of the picture. Looks like Beckner's going to think better of it at the last moment. Weishart's going to take that position back from him. Watching Alan Elwood now try to pick his way through the field in the number 49. Looks like we got a black flag for Rick Christensen, so something happened there on the number 19 on the start. He brought it directly down the pit road. He wasn't actually able to even take the green flag, was the 19, so he's going to be behind very early on in this one. Up front, Cameron Hearn continuing to show the way with James Scioli now running second. Got David Weishart all the way back in the 13th spot. Alan Elwood, he's made a little bit of ground up. He's running P10 right now just in front of Jordan Martin. And Elwood with a lot of traffic right around that race car. He's got the 14 of Connor Okresic. He's got the 84 of Forrest Smith. He's trying to work his way around, and just not what you want to see probably start your championship run here tonight.
Three wide in front of Alan Elwood.
Right in front of Alan Elwood. Between Okresic, Forrest Smith, and then Andrew Player on the top side.
Contact.
Oh, little contact.
Big contact.
Player and Forrest Smith get together just outside of championship contender Alan Elwood. Now you see David Weishart trying to follow through on the bottom side. Definitely not an easy sight to see if you're one of those guys going for the championship. You got three wide racing cars getting into each other just on your outside door. Luckily for Alan Elwood and David Weishart, they were able to squeak through. Elwood still now trying to pick his way through the field. He's got his sights set on the 14 of Connor Okresic. You see David Weishart on your screen right now, racing alongside Forrest Smith in the 84, and also looking to go underneath the number 5 of Garrett Grant. Okay, Weishart send it down underneath the number 5 of Garrett Grant going into turn 1 and 2. Weishart's going to clear him, take that position away. Now you see Alan Elwood side by side again with the 14 of O'Kresick. As the 2 is now officially entered the top 10 for the first time tonight. So all 4 championship drivers herald back up in the top 10 here by the time they start lap 8, even though 2 of them had to go from the rear.
Yeah, they're gonna get where they're supposed to be based on their speeds. Elwood is, not being able to get a qualifying lap is probably the headline of today's race.
Absolutely, and he was close. He was maybe a few seconds away from crossing the stripe in time. I think the reason he might have spun it coming through that final corner was because he knew he was just trying to push it and probably not going to make it to the stripe in time before the qualifying session ended. There you see Jordan Martin, the number 02, had a little bit of issue getting that car to fire at the beginning of this race. Caused a little bit of a stack up there on pit road. Everybody was able to roll on and catch up to the field just in time. Battle for third is going on now. Colin Fambro and Shane Deeren. 38's looking underneath the 24 to try to take away that spot coming through turn 4. And it looks like Shane Deeren is actually going to complete that pass and move the 38 up to the spot.
Have a note from the Connor O'Kresick team saying that he wasn't satisfied with the P2 qualifying, knew that in the time, and elected to not get a qualifying time to put himself in the back instead.
He wanted that pit road selection here because going down through turn 4, the pit lane actually curves, and a lot of times it's really hard to see your box if you're one of those guys that are on the later end of pit road. But if you start from outside the top 10, you'll get to come down into your pit box on a straightaway. It makes it a lot easier for these guys to see.
Always appreciate the drivers giving us tidbits of information in the Twitch channel. Makes life a little easier.
Absolutely.
We should put up. We need to hang a help wanted sign for a pit reporter for next season.
Yeah, we definitely need to do something up here. I need some more voices help us get through these races. Looks like Alan Elwood finally going to look underneath Connor O'Kresick. He has not been able to get around that number 14 for a handful of laps now.
Ed Robinson hit the outside retaining wall in the backstretch. And you mentioned it about a little bit earlier. We didn't really mention it too much. We have all week, but normally the rule for Aria iRacing for the restart is the driver can fire off as soon as the pace car has cleared all 4 tires from the racing surface. Here, they have to wait for the entry into the Geico Restart zone, which is identified by the Geico sign on the right side of the track and on the inside of the apron, as you see right here.
Yeah, and it's definitely been different for these drivers because we're so accustomed to just firing as soon as that pace car leaves the track. And like you mentioned, having to wait to that restart zone. It's a long straightaway where the leaders have to pace the field. Elwood again looking underneath Connor O'Kresick for the 7th spot and just really tight racing there with the 14. Still not quite able to clear him, but he's got a good shot here going down into turn 4.
Now, is that, all these laps that he's been fighting the 14, what is that doing to his tires right now, the number 49?
Yeah, no, good point. You definitely got to think it's probably eating away at his tires a little bit just from having to push so hard. He's got his teammate Danny Ware there in the 18. Maybe, I would assume, teammates Harold might let him get around him a little bit easier than what Connor O'Kresick's been racing here with Elwood, but we've seen VRA been fighting each other all week long for championships, so it wouldn't surprise me either if Danny Ware wants to put up a fight for that 6th spot. But very early on in this race, looks like Elwood's going to peak underneath the 18, and I would assume his teammate might cut him a little bit of a break here.
Well, the 14 cutting through in 1 and 2 under the apron. I saw Hearn do this yesterday. Wasn't able to stick that, and then Elwood is able to get back in front of him on a slide job. But I think Hearn was the only driver that did that yesterday or last night. But, saw that the 14 and the caution is going to come out.
14's
18.
in the...
Yeah, it was contact between the 14 and the 18. We'll go back to it here.
That's going to bring out the first caution of the night. Right there. Between the 14 there.
Right here.
49.
We'll see it.
Yeah.
Well, nope, it's a little early, so I got it too early here. So It's going to be the 14.
Well, it's actually
that slide job that we were talking about.
Exactly. You want to see this.
Yeah, he cuts that corner, comes right up in front of here, and this is where you're going to see the 18 enter contact to the right rear corner of the 14.
It looked like Danny Ware was looking underneath him there. Tight racing going down into 1 and 2. I think Okrezik might have came down a little bit to try to pinch the entry of Danny Ware. Danny Ware might have slid up a little bit too. Definitely some contact between both those drivers. 14 backed it up into the fence.
Yeah, early caution, but a lot of aggressive driving between the 49 to 14 and the number 14 car, or the 14, 18 and the 49 car. Everybody coming down pit road, looks like.
Yeah, this was the first big decision of the night. I was going to say was, do you want to take your tires already on lap number 18? And it looks like a large majority of the field's going to do so. I'll try my best, Harold, to keep tabs of who takes 4 and who doesn't. I'll start here with the number 49, Alan Elwood. It looks like he's the first guy in his box. I see the right side's going up on his car. I believe David Weishart might have missed his pit box in the number 2, and yes, he did. So he's just going to pass through pit lane, but he's not going to take tires. 49 is going to take a 4-tire stop. Cameron Hearn, the race leader, also going to take a 4-tire stop for him. And our final driver in the championship 4 was Shane Theron. Again, another 4-tire stop all the way around, it looks like, on pit road.
Everybody a 4-tire stop. Now, shows Garrett Grant stopped in his box for 5.8 seconds. Is what I'm showing on the scoring board. So fuel only maybe for Garrett Grant.
Well, like I said, I saw David Weishart miss his pit box.
David Weishart
and it looks like, but he's not coming back down, Harold. So maybe when he found out his teammate Garrett Grant was taking fuel only, Weishart didn't want to take his tires either. So he's going to try to save that step for later on in the race. So the front row, teammates David Weishart and Garrett Grant, no tires taken under that last caution. Whether it was intentional or not for the number 2, David Weishart, we might never know. You would figured he'd at least want to come in and fill up like Garrett Grant, though, right, Harold?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, might as well at this point. I mean, it's going to save you some, maybe you'll need it for later. And David Weishart has been on the wrong side of fuel strategies quite a lot in this league so far, this season.
Well, coming into tonight's race, we figured the pit window would probably be anywhere between 50 and 60 laps on a green flag run. So definitely going to be a 2 pit stop race. It's not going to be a 3-stop race for any of these guys as far as fuel is concerned. So they kind of had that extra tire set because these guys are only given 3 sets of tires in the pits coming into this race. So I could see the strategy there of just coming down, putting your first set on now since you had one kind of left over anyways.
But the guys that didn't take those tires will have a set for a late race caution, right?
Yeah, they would. But I mean, I would think so with the guys even that took the tires right now. But I mean, heck, I've been wrong 100 times this season in terms of strategy, so I won't make any predictions on what we'll see.
If they can get to lap 80 or more, then they said they can almost do it in one more stop, I guess, and then have another set of tires. But I think I saw you and a couple of other drivers last night basically saying, okay, I'm going to do this in a 3-stop, and I'm going to divide it up into that exact to get the best action out of my tires as I can. And I'm wondering how many drivers are thinking that right now and be coming in around lap number 70 next.
Yeah, it's going to be close. A lot of different strategy calls up on top of the pit box. Pace car is going to make the left-hand turn down onto pit lane, but we got to wait a few more seconds before we were able to get the green flag. Looks like Ed Robertson back there came in and topped off, as well as Andrew Player in the number 13. Maybe some damage repair for the 13 a player. But David Weishart and Garrett Grant, those two do not have fresh tires, and they're going to fire off in the restart zone back underway here at Phoenix.
Cameron Hearn all the way down on that first lap. Gets around Grant. Now he's all over the back bumper. David Weishart, new tires on that car. Should be able to make quick work of the number 2.
They're going to be side by side now heading into the final corner, but I agree with you, Harold. No contest at all for Cameron Hearn with those fresh tires. He's going to take over the top spot. Here comes James Scioli following through. Alan Elwood makes a 3-wide move to get 2 people in one corner. move him back up near the top 5. Now he's running outside of Colin Fambro. David Weishart, though, and Garrett Grant, for that matter, going the wrong direction.
And not a good move for them as far as that goes, as we see a stack up back here, including the number 2 car.
We'll see if that extra tire set, though, will come back to help them later on in this race. Weishart now well outside the top 5. Garrett Grant well outside the top 10 up front. You got Cameron Hearn, James Scioli, and then the other 2 members of the Championship 4 we haven't really touched on too much tonight that are back inside the top 5. Shane Thieren and Alan Elwood running 3rd and 4th. It's like Colin Fambro there in the number 24 might have tagged the wall. The exit of turn 4.
Fambro being chased by Shane Wolf.
Yeah, I was going to mention James Shane Wolf there in the 83. He's had a rough Xfinity season, or excuse me, Lodgebox season in these cars, these Xfinity cars. Hasn't really played to his strengths too much, but tonight he's looking pretty good running up there in the 6th spot. He's going to get a chance to challenge Colin Fambro for 5th, it looks like.
Ellen Elwood moving up into the top 5 now behind Shane Thieren. So putting all but one driver in the final 4 in the top 5.
And that exception is David Weishart, who we saw elect not to come down and take tires. Did not stop in his pit box. Right now he is all the way back in the 12th position, looking for maybe a soon, actually a caution coming out pretty soon would definitely benefit the number 2 and the number 5, because they would have way fresher tires. Well, not way fresher, but they would have fresher tires than those guys who just came down, because I don't think they would come down again anytime soon to put on their 2nd set. So definitely could see some different strategy playing out. The sun still hasn't set all the way yet either, Harold. So this track's definitely going to change a lot here in the next 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, a lot of change going through the track as we're showing current time of the day being 6:40 on today's actual date. So you guys, I guess it's just down in the south. We can go with early February, huh? Or late February. You were saying you're having trouble with that with other.
I'm currently in Anaheim, California.
Yeah, is it kind of warm?
I'm currently. Well, yeah. I mean, it's maybe mid 60s. Wouldn't say it's warm, but it's not cold either. But no, I was going to mention, I'm out here in California right now where the local time is actually 6:23, and it's very similar to that in the sim. So about as close as you can get.
Wow, pretty good. I was going to say, it's kind of interesting. You said that is like here in northeastern Maryland, we had temperatures in almost 80 degrees today. Little different. The weather doesn't know what it wants to do, I don't think.
Well, no change inside of our top 5 whatsoever. We still got the 15 followed by the 7 of James Scioli, Alan Elwood, Shane Thieren, Colin Fambro rounding out the top 5. James Shane Wolf continuing to kind of creep up on the back bumper of Colin Fambro, but no move being made just yet. Other than that, another notable driver, David Weishart, he's fallen back to the 12th position. And comparing his lap times to race leader Cameron Hearn, he's almost a second off pace right now with those old tires, but could definitely see the strategy coming back into his favor if he's able to catch a lucky caution or 2 before this thing's all said and done.
Yeah, they're basically, I would see they're going to have to come in around, or at least Weishart's going to need to come in probably in about 30 laps regardless, and he'll get tired and fuel, but he'll be running really low on fuel come lap 60.
Yeah, definitely some question marks regarding the fuel situation there for the number 2 and the number 5 well, actually, you're right. Garrett Grant came in and topped off, so I guess the fuel situation a lot different for the Garrett Grant machine as opposed to the number 2 of David Weishart. Looks like Forrest Smith is going to go ahead and pull it into the garage and call it a night, so the 84 is going to be credited with the 15th place run. Rick Christensen as well has been on pit road ever since the start of this race where he was given the black flag. So 2 drivers currently out of this one with 14 still left on the track. All 14 of these guys also still on the lead lap. A little bit of a gap starting to form between the number 38 machine of Shane Theron and the number 49 machine of Alan Elwood, who's had a heck of a rebound going on, as they noted down there in chat with AJR Racing, mentioning that the number 49 is having a pretty good run after starting in the back. And indeed, he is up to the 3rd spot already.
Well, the caution really helped Elwood out by bringing him, you know, where it reset the margin, the gap that he had to get from all the other drivers. And then a good pit stop, you know, propelled him up a little bit. And then on the restart, he only had to worry about half the cars that he would have had to do, you know, under green flag conditions.
That's a good point. Definitely. And it also, you know, closed that gap. You know, when you start at the back of the field, you're immediately given, you know, when the green flag is thrown, about a 2-3 second gap between you and the race leader having to start behind so many cars. So he was able to close that gap instantly with the yellow flag coming out to race leader Cameron Hearn. However, Cameron Hearn stretched that gap right back out over Alan Elwood to 2.5 seconds, but James Scioli's still hanging in there. And I was watching the 7 a little bit earlier on in the day during some practice sessions that were up, and he put in a heck of a lot of laps. Specifically, though, Harold, the number 7 of James Scioli, practicing the long run in that car. Didn't really worry about qualifying, didn't really worry about what he could do on a 2-lap run. He wanted to know how that car was going to handle after 30, 40 laps.
You know, we were talking about that before the broadcast. You know, in a lot of the official races, you can see the guys that all they do is run the hot laps, or they run 5 laps, and then they go back into the pits. I'm one of the guys like Scioli. I'm running for a whole fuel run. I want to know what the car is going to do middle of the fuel run, at the end of the fuel run. I need to know how I got to worry about guys that are coming out with fresher tires, with better fuel for me. How do I need to move around them while I have a different car? Good idea for Scioli to do the full few runs during the larger practice sessions to kind of get an idea of what he can do to make his car get around somebody towards the end of a fuel run.
Yeah, and to that point, James Scioli, the last few laps, a little bit quicker than race leader Cameron Hearn, about a 10th quicker the lap before, so there is a chance that we could see the number 7 eventually start closing in on race leader Cameron Hearn. He's just 1 second behind him. Alan Elwood also closing in with a pretty good amount of time in that race car left in this race. 49's up to P3, only a 1.5 seconds back from Cameron Hearn. So,
yeah, right now this is actually the closest battle between these guys is the 24 and the 38, Theron and Fambro. Right now everybody's pretty much single file and just trying to get close enough to make a move to change positions, but nobody really in a position right now to make any kind of change for a position right at the moment.
I think our next question mark that we'll have to answer is, when does David Weishart have to come down and pit for fuel? He did not stop under that caution at all, so no fuel in that race car. Garrett Grant, that's the answer, is right now. So I guess David Weishart,
he says right now,
lap number 40. Yep.
Well, I think he's seeing that he's losing way too much time to the leaders on fresh tires. Because that's not a scheduled pit stop. There's not what I'm seeing. Unless he's trying to do 40, 80, 120. But that would be all of his tires, right? Looks like Connor Krezik's now catching up to Shane Wolf. This might be a battle here for the 6th spot. David Weishart with a 16.3. Not a really good pit stop for the number 2 car. A little bit slow for a 4-tire and fuel stop. That puts David Weishart, the first car, a lap down. As we see the 14 and the 83 continue to fight here. And we're getting close to Theron. So we go up here to Shane Theron and Colin Fambro as they cross the stripe. About 2 car lengths between each other. '24 looking under Doesn't have the run that time, decides to pull back and regather. The battle for fourth position. We'll continue to look here. Scioli now falling back a little bit from Cameron Hearn to 1.2 seconds. He did have that underneath 1 second. Now he's getting pretty close to Alan Elwood. We'll switch over here to the third place driver, the 49 of Elwood, as he's catching up to Scioli. About 4 car lengths back.
Trying to get a look here at what David Weishart's going to be able to do here at the end of this run, because right now he is currently running a full second faster than Cameron Hearn and those guys up front. So he's definitely got the advantage with tires. But, you know, the question mark to me, Harold, that I think is still left to answer is whether these guys that did come down pit road and got fuel under our first caution of the night, if they're going to be able to make it to the end on just one more stop.
That will be a question that needs to be addressed. But, you know, I also mentioned earlier that David Weishart was on pit lane a little longer than a normal pit stop. He was at 16.8 and at 3 in his box, where a normal one would be around 14.8 for 4 tires and fuel. So a little longer there, and under green really hurts. Ed Robertson around with Danny Weir sliding the back end, the 64. So when you were racing the trucks last night, did you end up messing with the brake bias at all while the car started to lighten up?
You know, the fixed setup last night was pretty low already on the brake bias, so I only adjusted it a few percentage points, a little bit lower, just to try to loosen it up some. But what these guys are dealing with tonight, and a lot of these guys pretty much already being loose on the entry of the corner and on the exit of the corner, I don't think that they'll probably be going any lower on their brake bias. We may see some guys up the brake bias some, but I'm not sure, Harold. I'm kind of curious as well to find out what these guys are doing behind the wheel.
Yeah, because I've seen a couple of guys, you know, they're stepping out under braking, which we saw a lot of the trucks doing towards the end of a run last night. We had one of the ARCA drivers saying that they're seeing that as the heavy rear braking of the trucks, is how Gary Lewis had put it, was causing the cars to want to step out like that. My experience lately in the NASCAR style cars is very limited. So I don't have very many lights to practice, so I pretty much stick with the cars I know.
Andrew Player, the number 13, also bringing his race car back down pit road, but he's been in his box for an extended amount of time as well, so might be the end of his season in the Lodgebox series for the number 13 of Player.
And that would pretty much be the end of the season for him, because he's not a Cup driver. So yep. Andrew Player did have a lot of damage between him and I believe it was Forrest Smith.
Yep. And both those drivers now out of the race.
So Bambro getting really close to the back of the 49. Behind the 38. Sorry.
Yeah, the purple cars, I was getting a little confused earlier with them too, because
Elwood
they're teammates. Both Elwood designs. They're both in the Final Four. But it looks like the 28 is going to look low right here going into turn number 3 on the 38 of Shane Theron. Theron's going to slide up the racetrack a little bit. Just go ahead and hand that position right off to Colin Fambro.
And Fambro takes advantage in the 24 Coors Light machine. Slides in front of Shane there.
And notice also Connor Okrezik on the back bumper and looking underneath James Shanewolf just behind those guys. That's the battle for 6. And Okrezik, we saw him back that car up into the fence just a handful of laps ago. And he's all of a sudden back up here competing for that 6th spot. And he's still got some damage on the rear end.
I'm definitely looking to get back some of those positions he lost. Ed Robertson doing battle with Danny Weir as well. Little 2-car battles going off all over the place today at this time.
Well, there's no battle up front, though, for the race lead. That's the only place we're missing a battle because Alan Elwood's starting to close in on second place James Scioli. We just saw Colin Fambro get around the 38 of Shane Theron. The battle between James Shanewolf and Connor Kresik's going on. So you're right. We got little two-car pairings all over the place inside this top 10, except for that race leader. Well, unfortunate also for David Weishart right now. His times are already starting to almost even out with race leader Cameron Hearn. Last time around for Cameron Hearn in the number 15, he was able to put down a 28.7 second lap. With David Weishart, 28.4 second lap. So the tire is starting to plateau, as they like to call it, and that advantage starting to slip away for the number 2.
Yep. So, I see, these guys are going to try to get to lap 80. So another 23 laps or so to go before they come down. But, they've proven me wrong from time to time, but that's what I'm looking for at this point. That would mean they would have a shot to finish it on this one last stop. And Mr. Player just reported that he has 31 minutes of required repair on the 13.
Looks like that sounds like an engine let go on the number 13. So that's going to definitely end his season, like you said. But it was a good season there for Andrew Player. Was able to sneak into the playoffs in pretty epic fashion, if you remember back at Charlotte, where he was running around. The car was smoking.
No
able
hood.
to make enough laps. Yeah, no hood. Able to make just enough laps to get into the playoffs here in the Lodgebox series, and 5 top 10 finishes on the year. Pretty solid season for Andrew Player in his debut season. Well, everybody's debut season in the Lodgebox series.
Showing that points racing means sometimes getting out there with Bondo and tape and whatever it takes to get the car back on the track.
Yep, and he did it to perfection there and was able to get just enough points and make his way into the playoffs. Unfortunately, didn't make it out of the first round, but still, like I mentioned, pretty solid season there. A lot of these guys are a lot of the competition in this series and the top 2 series specifically in general, where you got Cameron Hearn, Alan Elwood, David Weishart. There's just some wicked fast drivers in this series, and not easy to run well. Definitely not easy to win a race. Nonetheless, that's one of the hardest things. Looks like Shane Theron, 38 car playoff driver, hitting pit road here on lap number 61. And this is telling me right away that these guys are not going to be able to make it on one more stop. So he's coming in now for what figures to be his second to last pit stop of the night in the number 38. He was running inside the top 5. The 38's going to hit his box now. It's going to be a 4-tire stop for Shane Theron, so he's putting on his second set of tires already officially. We'll see who the next is to hit pit road out of our top 10 drivers. We know Garrett Grant's got to be thinking about coming down to pit road pretty soon here. No fresh tires yet. He's on lap 62 on his current set of tires.
Yeah, these guys
did come down and take fuel. So
yep. So he'll be out there for a little longer. But I almost think that Shane Theron, when he came in on lap 60, is looking to take this to about lap 100 to 110 for his final pit stop.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. I think he knew he wasn't going to make it on one, so he tried to evenly split it up with 2 stops, and we'll see what he's able to do as he's going to fly right around the number 64 of Ed Robertson. Danny Ware, the 18, thought he was coming down pit road. He just got really, really low off the corner there on the exit. But Shane Theron now going to try to track down the rest of these drivers on the field. Cameron Hearn, race leader out front. Looks like Connor Krezik now coming down to pit road. That's the 14 car. Second driver that is now hitting pit road under this round of green flag pit stops. Harold Got a interesting report here on race leader Cameron Hearn. If you can get an onboard shot there and maybe throw the RPM graphic up, I believe that number 15 is trying to make sure he can make it on one stop, and he is coasting into these corners, trying to save some fuel here. I think we'll get a really good shot of it here in these long turn 1 and 2. Definitely hear him shutting the car off. There you see it, all the way down to 2,000 RPM, coasting around the corner. So he is definitely thinking about fuel.
Yeah, Cameron Hearn, you can definitely tell that when he drives, he will put the clutch in, and you hear the car just drop in that RPMs. But they were saying that there really wasn't a lot that you could save. A lot of the drivers are saying even clutching it around here, because it was such a short track and he had to get back into the gas. So he might get a couple laps, but does he have enough to get past lap 80?
Yeah, he's going to have to go very far to make it on just that one stop. James Shanewolf, number 83, he's off and away from pit road. It was a 4-tire change for him. So now he'll join Shane Theron and Connor O'Kresick and Danny Ware as the drivers who have already made their second pit stop of the night. But with a lead like Cameron Hearn has, Harold, really not a lot to lose for him by trying to save some fuel in that race car and see if he can make it on one stop.
Yeah, I was looking here at the difference between Weishart and Theron. I figured that Weishart would have came out in front, like past Shane, but that was not the case. Shane came out in front of David Weishart, and now he's just kind of gapping him.
No, Shane did come out. He came out about 2.5 seconds maybe behind David Weishart.
Oh, just blew by him.
And blew by him, exactly, with those fresh tires. So
that's probably what happened so fast. I didn't see it though. I didn't expect that.
It only took a handful of laps for Shane Theron to get around. But no, I definitely agree that with those fresh tires that Weishart had, I figured he would have been able to gain a lot of track position. Just wasn't the case. But Shane Theron also came down pretty soon, so that kind of eliminates that. Alan Elwood, 49. The third of our playoff drivers now coming in to make his second pit stop of the night. It's going to be 4-tire change as well. He's off and away. And we'll see where he stacks up with Shane Theron and David Weishart when he leaves pit road here. Looks like the 38 machine of Theron's already got around him. David Weishart just getting around Alan Elwood as well. So Elwood's going to come out behind Connor O'Kresick. Might be something to watch for here. We already saw those two drivers throwing some very aggressive moves back and forth. And it looks like O'Kresick's in a battle in his own right with the 83 of James Shanewolf and the 44 of Travis Beckner. Beckner there, old tires on the 44. He hasn't made his pit stop yet, and right now they're splitting them 3 wide and in a hurry. Now Elwood has to set his sights on trying to navigate around the 44.
Very aggressive move there between those guys, making it 3 wide to get around the 44.
Absolutely. And that tire difference is massive right now as well, because those guys racing around Travis Beckner just came off of pit road, whereas Travis Beckner is working lap 40 or 50 on his run.
Garrett Grant, 53 laps currently. Like I said, he's trying to make that lap 80 as well as the guys in front of him. So
Alan Elwood just got 2 of them in one corner. He got around Connor O'Kresick, and he also got around the number 2 of David Weishart. So he was able to make the move and scrape by both of them. I think O'Kresick actually cut him a break there, it sounded like. So Kresick was letting him go. And they're making up over the radio there, Harold. I don't know if you got to feed in on the driver's radio or not there, but O'Kresick and Elwood weren't happy with each other off that initial move, and now they're making up. So Kresick's going to let him by and apologize for the mistake earlier, and Elwood's going to go ahead and try to make his move around the 83 there, James Shanewolf.
The broadcasters do not drop into driver chat. We learned that lesson about 2 years ago. Not a good idea.
No, definitely, if we were listening to driver chat all season long with this broadcast, definitely probably wouldn't have the broadcast on Twitch anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's something that, something we put it. Matter of fact, there are people we know that were part of that broadcast. I wasn't I wasn't in the broadcast. I was part of race control for that, and my friend was actually broadcasting that race. So we both put that in our notes. Never put a feeder into driver chat. So learn that lesson that day. All right, so we got other things going on. Not a lot of real close racing going on. Everybody's pretty much single file all the way around the racetrack.
I think the real battle to watch is what we got our eyes on with Alan Elwood. He's got to try to track down the number 38 of Shane Theron. Other than that, we're still waiting on pit stops from everybody in our top 5 and actually top 6. Garrett Grant in the 6th spot is one of the few drivers the only driver who came down under yellow and took fuel only on his first stop. So 1 through 6 still need to come down and make their second pit stop of the night. But Harold, we're creeping towards lap 80, and there's a good chance that these guys could be making their final pit stop of the night if they're in that top 5.
Yeah, if they can go 60 laps and get to lap 80, that allows them to go all the way to the end. But we saw Cameron Hearn clutching, and if I was Cameron Hearn, I'm going to try to get his best. I'm going to go as long as I can this time to not have to be clutching like that at the second half of this.
Well, we'll have to get a camera here on Hearn as Travis Beckner hits pit road to see if Cameron Hearn is still clutching that car in the corners and trying to save some fuel, because he's getting closer and closer, like you mentioned, to lap number 80 there, the most important lap, as Travis Beckner, the 44, hit pit road. We also saw the number 5 just in front of our race leader, Garrett Grant. He's on pit road. So that leaves only 3 in the 15 of Cameron Hearn, the 24 Colin Fambrough, and the 64 of Ed Robertson.
And riding on board with Jordan Cameron Martin here. He's got guns it through the dog leg. He basically clutching here to 1 and 2, and it's almost like he's just lifting in 3 and 4. It doesn't sound like he's actually clutching.
But he did not come down that time, so that's going to officially mean he's going to be able to make it to lap 80. We'll see if he goes another lap to try to make it to lap 81 before he comes down for his potentially final stop. Calling it over the radio, he's coming in this time. As you see the 7 there, James Scioli getting around him on the outside. So Scioli is technically the first car that has made their pit stop already. So he's just in front of Shane Theron there, the number 7 is. So we could see Scioli potentially take over the race lead here for a moment, but Cameron Hearn is in. Looks like Colin Fambrough is going to follow him in as well. So Ed Robertson's going to do the same. So our top 3 drivers all able to make it to lap 80. They're going to see if they can stretch it all the way to lap 140 to make it to the end of this race on 1 stop. It's going to be close. We'll see where James Scioli is able to cycle around to those guys who just hit pit road. Cameron Hearn, it was a 4-tire stop for him, as well as he's just now actually pulling into his box for the Infinite Gaming Ford Mustang.
So right now, Grant and Martin, the only drivers down a lap currently.
James Scioli is going to cycle well ahead of Cameron Hearn. Cameron Hearn's going to be pretty far behind, actually, by the time he leaves pit road. He's just now leaving his pit box. He's going to hit the commitment cone now and come out all the way back in the 6th position. But he's going to have to find his way.
Is that, but if he can make it to the end, that
right.
Guy,
well, potentially.
I said you almost lose 2 laps under green here under pit lane because of that really long and starting in turn 2. So it takes a while to get out of there.
Yep. So there is a chance, though, like you said, a good chance, albeit that Cameron Hearn's able to make it all the way to the end. We know that James Scioli, Alan Elwood, Shane Theron, all those drivers in the top 5 will need to come down at least one more time. Throw David Weishart in that picture as well. So 3 of our 4 championship guys all have at least 1 pit stop left. Potentially no more pit stops left for the 15 of Cameron Hearn. We'll see if he's able to make it.
But Garrett Grant just bolted on the first set of tires, has 2 in reserves.
As does David Weishart.
Yes, David Weishart also has 2 sets available. Everyone else has 1 set.
Cameron Hearn able to make the move around the 14 of Connor O'Kresick, so he's back up inside the top 5. James Scioli, though, first time tonight we've seen him out front in that Rick's Hot Sauce Chevrolet Camaro. He's done a great job this season. We saw him finally break through and get his first win last week at Kansas, which shout out to Harold Darner for doing the solo coverage on that event.
Yeah, it's like my red Solo Cup.
There you go. So, but you were able to see that race, and from what I heard and went back and watched the broadcast some, it looked like James Scioli was definitely the man to beat. There was no fluke victory.
Oh, he was definitely very strong. He understood the racetrack and the car. It's a 1.5, but not quite a cookie cutter D-shaped oval. I actually enjoyed watching the 0-1 Army car get its one and only victory in a Banquet 400 at Kansas. So
there you go.
Being an Army guy, I got to plug that every once in a while. Joe Nemechek with the driver of the 0-1 that actually got it into victory lane. So Scioli controlling this thing and has 2 lap cars behind him.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was looking at with Ed Robertson being behind him on not fresher tires. It's kind of interesting to see how the 64 was able to just kind of ride there behind the 7 of James Scioli. You see Colin Fambrough now, the 24, trying to figure out how Colin Fambrough got all the way off sequence. I think it had to have been a pit road penalty. I'm just going to go back and try to verify that really quick.
Colin Fambrough was one of those drivers that came in, that came off late, like Grant, and he came in a couple laps before Hearn and Grant and Ed Robertson did, but he was down on pit lane for 54 seconds. Is that what you're looking at?
Yep, that answers my question. So it must have been a penalty, I'm thinking there, Harold, where they held him in his box.
Yep, 54.8 seconds box time for him. Yep.
Yeah, so he lost 2 laps, and he just got one of them back by getting around race leader James Scioli. So the 24 now going to have to try to find his way back into this race while down 1 lap. Alan Elwood cycling to second, and with the 49 running second right now, Harold, albeit a lot of strategy at hand for the moment, but there is our current champion as they run battle for third. Cameron Hearn, Shane Theron going side by side, and it looks like the 15 obviously easily going to be able to take over that spot away from the 38. Much fresher tires on the 15, and also a good chance he can make it all the way to the end. But this is the first time tonight, I believe, that Alan Elwood is our provisional champion at the moment. If things were to end right now, which obviously with 52 laps to go, it's not going to be the case, but
yeah, Alan Elwood still has to come down. The first driver, Dave Weishart, down for most likely his last stop.
Yeah.
And Robertson, Fambrough, Hearn, all those drivers seem to be pretty much done for pit stops. Travis Beckner doesn't have it. I don't think he has enough to get it to go to the distance. So only about 4 drivers, including Cameron Hearn, look like they have enough fuel to get to the end.
Man, it's just going to be so tight on those guys trying to make it to the end. I agree with you that there's a really good chance that they do it. But, man, could you imagine leading the championship and running out of fuel on the final lap? That's got to be something that would haunt you for a long, long time. I wouldn't know, but I can just see that being an ugly picture to try to remember.
Tyler Hallman, ended up running out of fuel trying to make it to the championship for, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that was a few weeks back, right?
Yeah,
that was at Michigan, I believe.
Yeah.
In the truck series. Yeah, because he's in the Final Four tomorrow night. We'll see Tyler Hallman get a chance to go for the Cup Series title. But, yeah, you're right. He did run out of fuel there at Michigan.
Yeah, hurt his chances there, and, yeah. But yeah, definitely not cool. Here comes Cameron. He's on the back of Elwood. He says that he doesn't like him being in that provisional spot.
Yeah. But, I don't think we've seen Hearn go into fuel-saving mode yet, though, Harold. And he had to save quite a bit to go those 60 laps the first time around. So he's definitely not he's pedal to the metal right now.
Unless he saw that he had 2 laps to the good or something. I mean, it all depends. I don't know about you. I use a couple different race apps to tell me my fuel. I don't listen to the iRacing fuel calculator, even though they said they've changed it recently. I don't know if it's any better.
Yep.
But I'm always watching that. But then I race a lot of open wheel, and you want to have just enough gas in those cars because you want them as light as they can be. So.
Yep. Well, Hearn makes the pass on Elwood. He's going to go up into the second spot. David Weisshart is going to pull it into the garage, actually. He is done for the night, the number 2 is. So
Damage,
strategy
maybe?
not playing out the way he wanted.
Yeah, no, 0x. So I'm not sure why David just didn't like the way it went, huh? So came down pit lane. He was there for 25.7 seconds and decided to pull the plug. So interesting.
We'll get to see him go for Cup Championship tomorrow night, but his Lodgebox Series Championship hopes are going to come to a close here. We got Shane Theron. How about that strategy? A little earlier than we expected, but the 38 is coming in for his final stop of the night.
All right, you're going to short pit the last one and get to the end here. 40, little over 40 laps to the end for him. And he will have the freshest set of tires out on the racetrack. Scioli continuing to lead here, and he's stretching it over Cameron Hearn. Scioli is. Well, now he's catching
He's
back
done a
up.
heck of a job, actually, maintaining that gap a little bit better than I expected.
Cameron.
Obviously, he's still going to have to make another stop. Sorry to cut you off there.
As I say, Cameron Hearn just may have used up a lot of his stuff getting around other people in Elwood into the wall.
Oh. Well, Cameron Hearn, right on cue, is going into fuel conservation mode. I hear him clutching it already once again in the number 15 as he's trying to also catch the 7 of James Scioli, but Scioli's got another pit stop left. But the 15 of Cameron Hearn, he is officially into fuel saving mode, trying to make it to the end of this race on no more pit stops.
Well, maybe he saw that we only had Scioli and season to go fuel saving mode, and he's got Elwood behind him. Elwood has to pit again though as well. So he's
I believe the next closest car. Yeah, I believe the next closest car to Cameron Hearn that is also going to attempt to make it all the way to the end would be Ed Robertson, all the way back in 8th.
Yeah, that's tall order at that point. Yep.
Yeah, that's a big gap he's going to have to try to make up. But that is also all contingent upon this race going green flag to the finish, as James Scioli's coming now to complete lap number 99. We're going to start lap 100 and have 41 laps remaining here in the Lodgebox Series first ever season.
And there's only
7
12
James
cars
Scioli.
left.
Yeah, only 12 cars left. Attrition is huge out here tonight. A lot of the attrition, though, coming from either solo car incidents or just people not being able, I don't even know how to describe it. I guess just people pulling off, saying they're done for the night, waving the white flag, but not the right white flag as we're used to in racing.
Yeah, surrendering to Phoenix, and I think first time that we
Elwood's in, by the way. Sorry to cut you off again.
It's all right. Hey.
Keep just jumping all over you tonight, but Elwood is in for his final stop.
We don't normally talk together because usually I'm kind of just sitting in the back and I just pull in with like pit facts. But we talked about the uniqueness of this racetrack. It's very difficult. It's like kind of like a funky Darlington where you can't race it both ways on both sides of the track. They're different. So either you're good in one and bad in the other. If you're hard to be good on both sides. Maybe these guys are just like, you know what? I'm tired of playing with the racetrack.
Well, we saw Alan Elwood make his final stop. James Scioli now on pit road making his final stop. So we've had the 38 of Shane Theron, who came in a handful of laps earlier. Everybody in that championship 4, with the exception of Cameron Hearn, has came down for their third stop of the night, bolted on their final set of tires with 39 laps to go.
So Cameron Hearn basically just wanted to keep that car conserved all the way to the end. See how see if he's
able to do it. And still 38 laps. He's going to have to try to make the fuel stretch. Shane Theron also, by the way, came out in front of the number 49 at Elwood by a pretty decent margin. So the gap back between the 38 and the 49 about, I'd have to estimate, maybe 3 or 4 seconds. So Alan Elwood's got to have to try to make his way back up into the 38's back bumper to try to get into that second spot in the championship, because right now Cameron Hearn leading the race, leading the championship.
Cameron Hearn basically we're not used to talking about Cameron Hearn controlling a race with fuel.
Yeah. He has done a good job with fuel this season. We've seen him being able to stretch it a few times, but something like this where he's one of the only guys on the strategy is, I agree, Harold. I don't think we've seen Hearn be like a lone wolf as far as fuel strategy goes. A lot of times we'll see Alan Elwood running the same strategy as him, or some other member that's up front right now it's just Cameron Hearn and Ed Robertson. Those are the only two guys trying to stretch it to the end.
And we're 35 laps remaining. And we're ticking them off pretty quick here, less than 30 seconds a lap. It's about, 18 minutes or so, and we'll have a champion.
Yeah, a little less probably, right? With 36 to go, like you said, it's a little less than 30 seconds a lap, so might even be closer to 15 minutes till we get our first champion. But all signs right now are pointing towards the 15 of Cameron Hearn. He's going to cross the stripe now, 34 laps to go, and what a season he's had. It's a little too early to crown him the champion just yet, but right now everything's looking good. He is in fuel conservation mode again, though. Like I mentioned, he is clutching in the car heavily in the corner, trying to make sure he's got enough fuel to make it to the end.
We're here with Scioli and Grant, and behind him the number 38 of Theron, and behind him his buddy there, Elwood. So this little pack here, yeah.
This is our battle for second, essentially, or maybe third, depending on if Ed Robertson can make it to the end of this race as well. But James Scioli, we know he's good on fuel. Garrett Grant's going to try to somewhat stretch it to the end as well, and he has an extra set of tires in the bank, so it might be something to watch out for with the 5. But Shane Theron, Alan Elwood just behind the number 7 there. You see them. Oh, looks like Garrett Grant just in front of Alan Elwood. Aggressive dive towards the bottom. Elwood has to find a way around the number 5 there, and he's going to try to set his sights on the 38 now.
Shane Wolf on pit road.
Alan Elwood now on the back bumper of the 38 of Shane Theron. Expect the move to be made here in the next lap or so. It looks like it might come now. Elwood going to look down into turn 3 and make the pass underneath Shane Theron and take over that spot.
Able to ride right around that yellow line all the way through the corner.
And again, this could be the battle for the championship if Cameron Hearn runs out of fuel. So this is definitely an important battle to keep our eyes on. But all signs right now are showing that Alan Elwood a lot quicker. He came down pit road later than Shane Theron, so he's got a little bit fresher tires. 49 right now, rolling inside the top 5. He's going to have to try to catch James Scioli if he wants to have a finish that could be on the podium.
Yep. But look who's just in front of the 49.
Just in front of the 49 is our race leader.
That's right. So they'll get back on their on the lead lap, and then we can start tracking distance to the leader with 29 laps to go. It almost has to be a second faster than Cameron to catch him again. That would be the problem.
Yeah. He's not going to be able to catch him on speed. I think the only variable left is just the fuel situation with the 15. That's for sure. I don't think I hear the clutch being used anymore on the 15 of Cameron Hearn, so he might have his green light already that he's good to go on fuel. You see the RPM tracker there in the bottom left of your screen. We'll know he's clutching it if we see the numbers go all the way down towards 2,000 in each corner. And it is not happening. He is just rolling out of the gas, not using the clutch, keeping the RPMs rolling, trying to make as much time as possible. So I think that could show us, Harold, that the 15 thinks he's good to go on the end. Alan Elwood on his back bumper now. Elwood's going to try to look around the number 15 to get back on the lead lap.
Hearn not going to make that easy. He's like, you can stay back there for a little longer.
Well, this actually helps two of the playoff drivers, because with Elwood getting around the 15 right now, it's going to put him back on the lead lap. But the other thing it does is it puts the 38 of Shane Theron in the lucky dog position. So if the caution does come out, he would get back on the lead lap as well.
Definitely a position there. So Andrew Player decides that the 31 minutes was too long to wait and decides to just pack it up and call it till next season. So shout out to Mr. Andrew Player in a 13 ride, driver for the ARCA Truck and Xfinity Series. 3-timer.
Oh. Looked like Alan Elwood might have tagged the wall a little bit again there, coming off of turn 2. I've seen him do that a few times, Harold, where he's just kind of creeping up on the exit of the corner, and he ends up grabbing the wall just a little bit, but nothing major. I don't even think there's a lot of damage on that race car on the right side, so he's able to keep on rolling. We got 25 laps to go now in the season here at Phoenix. Cameron Hearn, he's been out front for a majority of them and a majority of the races.
Yeah. I think Elwood, all he's doing is he heard somebody wanted sparklers and he just wanted to throw some sparks. He's not really hitting it very hard. He's just kind of like lightly getting the Darlington stripe here at Phoenix.
Yep. Just dragging the quarter panel on it a little bit like it's a dirt car.
Yeah, just trying to shave it off a little.
Yeah. Well, he is catching Cameron Hearn still, obviously with the fresher tires, but like you mentioned, Harold, he's going to have to try to gain over a second a lap. That's probably not very likely. The variable, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be if Cameron Hearn can make it on fuel. It's going to be very, very close, but he's not really saving fuel too much at this point, so I would think that he's got the green light by his numbers and he can make it to the end. Now 23 laps to go in the season.
Yeah. Elwood is kicking about 0.6 a lap. Not enough at this point.
We got second place driver James Scioli, who's a full 22 seconds behind Cameron Hearn right now. Scioli has definitely been, I feel like, the second best driver tonight in terms of speed. He was hanging with Cameron Hearn on the first green flag run, only about a second and a half, 2 seconds off of him. The only difference right now has been the tire strategy and the fuel strategy. Scioli electing to do an extra pit stop right now. That's kind of cycled him all the way back to 21 seconds. But there is a chance we could see James Scioli try to cut into that lead, Harold, because he's about 5 seconds up from Alan Elwood. 3 seconds up from Alan Elwood, but still got a long way to go to get all the way back to Cameron Hearn.
Yeah, he's 0.5 quicker. So basically he needs 2 laps for every second. So he needs 40 laps, and there's only 20 remaining. And that was if nothing else changes, of course. So Hearn looking pretty good. He just got to make sure he's got enough gas to get it across the start-finish line for that final lap.
Same situation there with Travis Beckner as well. The number 44 running third. By your numbers, Harold, and I agree with him, I don't think the 44 is quite going to be able to make it to the end. He pitted about a lap earlier, I think 2 laps earlier than Cameron Hearn did, actually. So the fuel situation for Travis Beckner not looking too good, but there is a chance he might be able to save enough on this run to make it to the end. Then you got 4th place Alan Elwood, who we know is good on fuel. 5th place Ed Robertson on the same strategy with Cameron Hearn. He's going to try to stretch it to the end. And then 6th place Shane Theron, another one of those drivers in the playoffs in the Final Four. And we know Shane Theron is good on fuel. Only problem for him, though, is right now he is the first car 1 lap down. So he's got a long way to go to try to get back into this championship hunt. So we're approaching now 18 laps to go when they hit the stripe. It's still Cameron Hearn leading the way. Colin Fambro back on pit road in the number 24. He had that pit road penalty earlier on in the night. Cost him about 2 laps worth of track position, and I believe he might be pulling this thing to the garage. He's been on pit road for a little bit and just losing laps as well. Now he's down 6, so that might be the end of the 24 season as well there, Colin Fambro.
Colin Fambro been in pit lane 2.5 minutes in his pit box. And we've been seeing a lot of drivers call it quits at that level. Now, a lap back, all except for the top 5. So 6th through 11th, 1 lap down.
The other thing, too, to mention is those drivers that have a set of tires left if a caution were to come out. And there's only a few. It's Cameron Hearn in the 15, it's Ed Robertson in the 64, and it's Garrett Grant in the 5. To my knowledge, those 3
Travis
drivers...
Beckner.
Oh, Travis Beckner as well. Yep, that's right. So those 4 drivers are the only ones with a set of tires left in the pits if a caution was to come out.
Well,
or
Grant's
if they're not
got
able
2
to make it
sets.
to the end.
Doesn't Grant have 2 sets?
Grant might have 2 sets. You might be right. So he's...
Because he only used the 1.
Yeah. He's going to try to take another one of those sets, I guess, to tomorrow night's race in the Cup Series, where he's racing for a Cup Series title.
Won't fit.
Won't fit, but he's going to try. He's going to try to use them if he could, or maybe get an exchange going on there, because tomorrow night's race, we'll catch you right here on this Twitch channel, the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series. Championship 4 drivers, David Weishart, Tyler Hallman, Ed Robertson, and Garrett Grant, all Samson affiliated, are Samson drivers. So it's going to be an interesting show to see some teammates duke it out tomorrow night.
15 laps left. Cameron Hearn has commanding control of this race, almost 20 seconds ahead of Scioli. So if you're the crew chief of the 15, what are you telling your driver right now?
I would be saying save fuel no matter what. Even if we know we're good, save fuel. You got such a large gap back to second place James Scioli. We're talking nearly 20 seconds. I wouldn't even push it at all. I would be saving fuel even if I knew I was good, which leads me to think that Cameron Hearn must be really, really good on fuel. The fact that he's not even attempting to save anything. But we'll see. We'll see if it all pays out here with 13 laps to go.
Ticking them off one by one as we march closer to the checkered flag with Cameron Hearn in fitting style, though he's commanded the Xfinity Series from the beginning of the season. I mean, so if he won tonight's race, it would be almost half, wouldn't it be, of the races?
Yep, this would be win number 8 in the Lodgebox Series out of our 17 races this season, and I think you mentioned it perfectly. It's just been a dominant season here. Cameron Hearn, notoriously known for these Xfinity race cars and how talented he is with them, and it's shown through and then something this season. This could potentially be win number 8. He comes into tonight with 3 poles, 10 top 5 finishes. He's led over 450 laps. I believe tonight he crossed the 500 lap mark in season laps led. So it's just been a near perfect season for the 15. And not to mention, tag on about 3 or 4 second place finishes as well that he was able to grab. So yeah, over 550 laps led this season in 17 races.
I heard him actually cut the power on that lap.
Maybe the questions are coming back into the back of his head. He might not be as good as he thought on fuel, at least.
I heard somebody clutch.
Well, he hits the stripe, 10 laps to go in Season 1 of the Lodgebox Series. Again, your top 5, Cameron Hearn, James Scioli, Alan Elwood, Travis Beckner, Ed Robertson.
I mean, it could be the crew chief telling him, like you said, you might as well save it. You don't need it.
Exactly. Save us a little extra so you can do your burnouts if you make it.
There you go.
And make it to victory lane. I think this is the only track we got on the service where you can actually drive your car in victory lane. So we'll see if the race winner tonight elects to do that.
Trying to think, is either Michigan or Kansas that is painted on the front stretch?
Oh yes, that's right. It's in the grass. This one was kind of neat. This one's all the way down in the garage area. You actually make the left turn. Yeah, you make the left turn in the pit wall in the opening.
It's in the garage
kind of navigate
area
through some bars. Yep.
That's traditionally where they are lately, or they'll have it either there or they'll have a trailer that'll make a movable pit, but it's usually in the garage area that they drive up the ramp like you see here at Kansas. One in Talladega is actually right behind, outside of all the pit stalls, or not the pit stalls, the garages, all the way at the end towards the stripe, actually. So you got to go all the way around the garage. It takes a little while to get there to Gatorade Victory Lane at Talladega. I'll have to find some photos. I have myself standing there. We did an actual foot race there, half marathon, many years ago. When I was in shape that I wouldn't kill me, and I do it now, I probably wouldn't quite make it. 44 is really slow on the high side there. Like, really slow.
He's got an engine expired there on the 44.
And this may bring out a caution.
Yeah, he's going extremely slow. He's got to try to find a way off the racing surface.
He's going to end up bringing out a caution because he's not. There he goes. Maybe
there he goes. He's got an opening. He's going to get down off the track at the very least and maybe coast it around to pit lane.
Hopefully he makes it there because that's it'll be a bad time for a caution to come out for Cameron Hearn.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, the 44, it does sound like there's some power left in that race car. He's down to about 30 miles per hour coasting around the inside wall there. So he's kind of creeping. As long as he makes it into pit lane,
He's got
it
no
should
power.
be good enough.
His RPMs are 300. He's got no power. He's got 30 miles an hour, though.
Yeah, he's maintaining, and he's made it into pit lane, it looks like. So we're not going to have a caution. Also, Garrett Grant's going to hit pit road right next to Travis Beckner there. So, but the engine expired there on the 44 at Travis Beckner. He wasn't able to make it all the way to the end. I'm thinking, Harold, he was trying to save some fuel and clutch it. And maybe just maybe misshift there or something went on.
Yep.
Where
not matching the RPMs, and the engines don't like that, and the simulator simulated what would happen if you don't do it right.
Yeah, and that was near disaster. Like you mentioned, that could have shook up everything. We got a late race caution. Luckily, it looks like that disaster is avoided. 3 laps to go now for Cameron Hearn.
All the laps that went by while we were watching Travis Beckner go down pit lane.
I was wondering if he was out of fuel, and then I was getting really concerned with Cameron Hearn, but we did confirm that it was an engine issue there, so that makes me feel a little bit better if I'm a Cameron Hearn fan right now, watching him go around the track. 2 laps to go here at Phoenix. Championship finale for Cameron Hearn, the Infinite Gaming Ford Mustang. Harold, he's had just about as good of a season as you can ask for.
Oh, yeah. And today, starting in the pole position, going to lead the most laps, going to put a big asterisk next to his name as being the number 1 overall with the most race wins, the most poles, the most everything going to Cameron Hearn. As the white flag's out in the flag man's hand, 1 to go, presented by 1 to Go Studios to end the Xfinity Series for the Lodgebox Series here at REI Racing. Cameron Hearn will bring it home one last time.
He's on the final lap. He's got 7 wins. He's got 10 top 5s and just a monstrous stat line to his first season in the Lodgebox Series. Cameron Hearn, the Infinite Gaming Ford Mustang, comes through turn 3 and 4 for the final time. The championship Ford driver is going to turn it into a championship. Cameron Hearn wins the race, wins the Lodgebox Series title, and he'll get to celebrate tonight as the first ever Season 1 champion.
Gonna dirt track that thing around for his final lap. Cameron Hearn loves to launch his car for his lap. So he's gonna Tokyo drift the car around for the final corner for his victory lap.
Well, he got the win last night in the Northern Capital Truck Series, but he wasn't one of the playoff Final Four drivers tonight. Different story. He made it to the Championship 4, and he gets to win the race and the title all together tonight. So, heck of a job by Cameron Hearn, and a very impressive season for the Infinite Gaming Ford Mustang. Got bounced around, raced for Virtual Racing Alliance the first half of the season. Second half of the season, he's carrying the Infinite Gaming colors. And also, Harold, we didn't even mention this, Virtual Racing Alliance wins the team championship. So Alan Elwood in the number 49, Shane Theron in the number 38, the 18 of Danny Ware. Those 3 drivers will get to celebrate as well, as they are the team champions in the Lodgebox Series. And there you see Cameron Hearn burning it down actually the proper way. It looks like this time, Harold, a little bit different, changing it up for us.
Yep, definitely changing it up. Looks like he stopped there.
Oh, you got the Elwood. 49 also. There you go. That's a cool shot. Got a duo burnout going on between the Virtual Racing Alliance team members who were able to snag the team championship. But up front, let's get a chance to talk to our race winner, our Season 1 champion, and Cameron Hearn. And I'll move him up here in the broadcast booth as the Virtual Racing team is doing their burnouts. Cameron, dominant night, 117 laps led. That puts you over 550 laps led on the season. You get win number 8, but most importantly, you win the first season Lodgebox Series championship.
Yeah, man. Super excited. All those wins to the season don't really matter. It's all about who wins or, finishes first, the top 4 drivers. Just super excited. I did want to do the fuel strategy thing, but I didn't want a late race caution to come out with no tires left. So I stretched it, and I was 1 lap short the first run than I wanted to be. And pretty much the second run, I saved a lot early, and my car started overheating, and I was worried it might blow up. So I kind of ran about 10, 15 laps without clutching to kind of cool the engine down. Had about a lap and a half to spare. I want to thank Rick Christensen who donated his time, helped me out. When we got in this race, he's like, hey, you can do about 60, ran out of laps, ran out of gas coming out of turn 4 with 60 laps. So I was like, okay, if it's, 120, then we can make it. And so a huge shout for him. That's what it's all about. That's what being on the team is. Rick's helped me a lot the past few races, spotting for me, being a crew chief. So hats off to him.
Well, Cameron, what is it about these B-class cars that just separates you so much from the rest of the field? I mean, obviously, one of the best drivers we have in this league, but, I mean, something about these Xfinity cars, you seem to really be, even another step up than the rest of the competition. I mean, 8 wins in 17 races is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, you just have to drive it. Tire wear is huge. You can tear your stuff up early. You got to be there at the end. Typically, I'm not the fastest qualifier. I'm not the fastest guy on short runs. I'm quick, but not the quickest. And what I learned is as the race goes on, I base my first run, the tires, if I wore out my right front or right rear more than I should have, then in my head, I'm like, okay, I got to see that next run. So I'm just typically learn as I go. With these cars, they're not as forgiving as the trucks where you can kind of wheel them around the track, not really have too much of a care. These things, you really have to drive it and be patient, let the car do its own thing. Just awesome. But beating guys like James was super fast tonight. Alan, Shane, all those guys battling for the championship was awesome. Just glad to bring it home.
Well, a tremendous season. I don't even think we can overstate it. It's just been awesome to watch you out here and the season you were able to put together. But I also got to ask another question, and then we'll get you to your sponsors. How about this playoff format? I mean, with such a dominant campaign in the regular season, were you worried having to try to make your way through each round and find your way to the championship four? And then on top of that, having to perform here tonight at Phoenix?
Yeah, it's almost kind of like the Kyle Larson situation, right? Like the guy won a lot of races and last race, it's an even playing field and it's one track, right? An internet connection, someone messing up, getting into you could end your night, running out of gas, missing pit road. A lot of variables. It's definitely nerve wracking. That's what when I came into it, I was like, look, just drive conservative, hit your marks, don't speed on pit entry, don't do anything stupid that costs you. Just be there at the end. But I like it though, because maybe next year, maybe I have some bad luck. And I need to, an even playing field to have a shot at the win. I think it makes it exciting. Tonight's race was kind of a fuel mileage thing, so it kind of spread the field out. But I like the format in terms of excitement. Winning a lot of races and being up front all year kind of makes you a little on edge, but I think that's what it's all about. And as you can tell, usually I'm pretty calm and stuff during the interviews, but I'm super excited. I don't win a lot of championships. I've been fast. So bringing home the area, the Lodgebox Series, Xfinity car is a huge notch. I'm excited for next year.
Absolutely. I'll hand it off here to Harold in case he's got any questions to ask the champion, and before we let you get to your sponsors.
Cameron, man, you and I have been talking to each other for about a year and a half now. Like I've told you once before, I need to buy a chair. Just put your name on the back of it.
Yeah, we've had some good times. Usually it's a good thing I'm talking to you. So it's been fun all year with this league and the previous leagues before that. It's just been a blast. I appreciate you being here.
Hey man, just get that box fixed so I can put you in, back in the camera like we used to have.
Yeah.
Our fans want to see your face again.
I'm just smiling right now. That's it.
Hey, Cameron was one of the first drivers, Jake, that we ever did the in-cam shot with at another league, and first win he got with the camera, he took his VR headset off. Almost like he took his helmet off, like in victory lane, and his thumbs up and waving at the camera. He had a great time. So hats off to you, Cameron. A great run for tonight, and I mean in dominant fashion. Almost 50% of the races were in your name tonight in this series.
I appreciate it. It's been a blast. I got me a sip of Gatorade now, so I think I'm calmed down a little bit.
Well, Cameron, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to help you get to this point?
You got a hell of a league. Anybody out here that's watching this and debating on racing, who has iRacing and stuff, that's someone that's been around iRacing for 10 years. Not only is a racing great, but there's a great group of guys. I thank you guys for the broadcast. Like I say almost every week, that it's just top notch, staying far above what you see on a regular basis. And hats off to Alan. Me and Alan, I've gone through the years on teammates in BRA. If I didn't win, I was rooting for him and or Shane BRA, and beating those guys like that definitely means something. Alan's bad fast in these cars week after week. He had some bad luck early in the year, but if he stayed out of trouble, he's my main competition. He beat me straight up a week ago, and that's what I was worried about tonight. And tonight was the first time that I got on for about 15 minutes before the session went up in practice, because I knew I'd have to be on my game to make it work out. But shout out to my dad. He's probably like, man, Cameron's just rambling on. Just wrap it up. But shout out to him. I really do appreciate him watching me. And that's one of the main reasons why I do this. It's just cool to go back and look at the race and have friends and family watching. My wife watching. She's been staying up the past couple of nights past her bedtime, putting up with me, hoping I wake up and the kids yelling. But this overall, the admins, I think Eli tonight, just all the people behind the scenes who make area the greatest league I've been involved in. And I'm excited for next season. We got some big things coming on. New team. We'll announce some formal stuff in a few weeks, I believe. But just thanks to everybody who showed up and provided the competition. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. Well, Cameron, on behalf of Area, man, congratulations on the championship, and we'll definitely see you back here sometime in the future. And it was an honor to watch you out here, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks. Cameron Hearn, season 1 champion. We'll get a chance now to catch up with second place runner-up driver here, James Scioli. And James definitely was one of the fastest cars out there tonight, man. You got out front, led about 20 laps here tonight. So it was a solid effort. That number 7 just wasn't quite able to get it done, man. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, overall it was a pretty good day, but Hearn was just a little bit faster than me, it seems, so I knew I wasn't going to beat him just following him, so I decided to try and latch onto Elwood's strategy there and see if we could make up enough time to maybe catch Hearn and pass him or something, but just wasn't meant to be. He was able to save the fuel and get the win, so big congrats to him on the championship, but it just wasn't quite good enough today.
Well, definitely still had some speed out there, and it was exciting to watch. I was curious to see if your 3-stop strategy would work versus 2-stop strategy, I guess, versus someone like Hearn trying to stretch it there on that one green flag pit stop. Were you worried about if Hearn was going to be able to make it? Were you worried about trying to get to that second spot so you were there in case he ran out?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I was able to keep a nice gap and stay in front of Elwood because I knew he was on the same strategy. And then I was hoping he was going to run out. I wasn't quite sure if he was going to be able to make it. I was trying to do some math in my head while driving, which never goes well. So wasn't quite sure if he was going to be able to make it, but turns out he was. So I like the strategy I picked, though. I did it at Pocono too, and I guess I ended up P2 there. So maybe it's not the best, but I like the extra pit stop and trying to attack.
Well, James, I've heard some rumors going around, and I'm sure there's nothing you're ready to announce just yet, but what's your plans here for next season? Are you going to be returning to the league, returning to the series, or anything you got in the works that you're excited about?
I will be returning to area. It'll be the announcement here should be out pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And that's about all I can say right now.
Good deal. Well, happy to hear that. And also, I was in there last week, so I want to congratulate you on your first win at Kansas. It was pretty cool to see that subbing back in victory lane, or finally get the victory lane, because you've definitely been one of the faster guys all season long. So, James, congrats, man, on another second place. Good run tonight. Any shout outs you want to give to your sponsors or anybody watching on the broadcast for you?
Yeah, big thanks to Rick's Hot Sauce for coming on in the middle of the season and finishing it out with me. It was fun to have them on board and fun to finally get them a win last week after running so good. So big thanks to them, and then just big thanks to everybody at Area. I've never really run any iRacing leagues, and so being in here, it was a great first experience. The guys here handle it great. Everybody in the booth, it was just a blast. Had a great time, and I can't wait for next season.
Alrighty, James. Well, we'll see you back next season. And again, congrats on the win last week, and congrats on a second tonight.
Thank you.
James Scioli, number 7. And finally, get a chance now to catch up with third place finisher tonight, but second place overall in the Drivers' Championship. Alan Elwood, not quite enough to get that title tonight, but you put up a heck of a fight there in that beautiful number 49.
Yeah, we gave it our best effort. Skyly kind of touched base on it. We kind of had the same game plan once the race got later on, and you realize the caution's probably not coming out. So on sheer pace alone, you're not going to beat Cameron tonight for sure. So we had to just try to pull something out and hope that it stuck. And I mean, it kind of paid off. We got some decent track position out of it, and came away with a third place. But all in all, just from the get-go, I screwed up my qualifying. Should have taken my first lap, but I thought I could get more out of it, and then I ran out of time like right before the start-finish line. So that put us behind the 8 ball, and then just hard racing through the field. You're trying to get up through there, and by that point, you're already too far behind Cameron to even try to be on his tail. And so again, you just try to come up with a strategy that you think you might be able to. And we were talking about, and we're like, well, if we pit at this point, then maybe we get ahead of him on fresh tires and hope that just the way the cards fall, maybe something will work out. But he is the master at the pace that he runs and saving fuel at the same time. We were all impressed that he made it as far as he did. And once the tires fall off, you're just never going to catch him. So, all in all, though, can't complain. It was a pretty clean and pretty good night.
Well, I know things got a little sketchy there in the early parts. Like you said, you had to you didn't get to qualify. Lap didn't get to go through, so you had to come from the back. So I'm sure it was a little bit stressful there, but having to make some strategy calls there in the middle parts of the race to find your way back up. Is there anything you think you could have done different tonight outside of that qualifying effort to maybe find yourself in a better position here at the end of the night, or were you just not able to quite get there on Hearn's pace that he was setting?
Yeah, I came into this race, I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling the greatest about it because I know, like, when the schedule came out and Phoenix was the final race, I said, that's going to be a really tough spot for me. Phoenix, whether it's the old layout, new layout, I've never been that good at this track. And so, I was thankful to get to the Final Four, but, if Cameron shows up, especially his speed on shorter tracks, he is just, it's tough to beat him on a one race, playoff. And so I don't know that I could have done anything different. I tried some stuff with brake bias and ratio and stuff like that, and I couldn't get anything as far as long run speed to work. So I was kind of just hoping that I'd be able to pull out a second. And best of all, we got the team championship locked up. I know we pretty much had it locked up anyway, but to finally have it set in stone that we got that done and accomplished, I'm super happy about that. So, if anything from tonight, that was our main goal, was just finish this race and get that part taken care of.
Yeah, I was going to touch on the team championship. You had to make some changes through the season. Danny Ware coming in, he pulled his weight there at the end of the season. And then obviously you and Shane both making the Final Four. I'm sure that was pretty cool to be able to at least, make it to the Final Four with a teammate, and on top of that, take home the team championship tonight.
Yeah. I first have to say Danny Ware is the MVP of our team. That kid, he races 3 series, and he never complains. He always puts his best foot forward, and I'm super proud of how far he's come in development. We picked him up a couple years ago, and that kid is he's really, really awesome kid, and super happy to have him on the team. Shane, we met him last year and picked him up, and Shane's been a great addition. And I also have to say Cameron, I know, our team and him, we parted ways, but Cameron was a big part of our success as well. And we couldn't have got this team championship also without him and what he did the first part of the season. So hats off to everybody that makes it happen. And I'm super thankful for the team that we've got here, and everybody coming together.
Absolutely, Alan. Well, man, want to give you some time to thank any sponsors. I know it was a long season here in the Lodgebox series, but, well, actually, let me jump in really quick and ask if you have any plans that you kind of want to allude to for next season, and then I'll let you get your sponsors in.
Yeah, well, so Friday is our big announcement. We've got some changes in store, some pretty big changes. So if you want to check out what we've got in store for next season, check out our Twitter or Facebook, Virtual Racing Alliance. We're going to have some awesome stuff coming. And I know we just finished the season now, but I can't wait to get to next season and get the ball rolling on that. I think it's going to be a really awesome year.
Well, we're happy to hear that you're planning on coming back, and we'll definitely stay tuned for that announcement. So want to give you a chance now. Any sponsors that you got to thank? Again, it was a long season, and we see that 49 is looked good all season long.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jacob. I just want to, first thank all the area sponsors: Sim Speed Shop, Lodgebox, Northern Capital, Swift Lifestyles, great partners that we've had all season long. You, Jacob, for being the mastermind behind area. Great league. Anybody looking around to join a place that has great racing, good people, this is the place to do it. Just an awesome place to be a part of. Harold, you up here in the booth, everybody that helps out as far as the broadcast goes. Appreciate all you've done all season long. Everybody at VRA, all of my teammates, again, touched on those guys tonight that make it happen, but everybody else on the team, there's a whole bunch of us, and I'm so thankful to have everybody together. Thank my wife for letting me race. Of course, happy wife, happy life. So gotta make sure I get a shout out to her and everybody watching. Like I said, we got a big announcement coming on Friday, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'm ready. Let's get it.
Alrighty, Alan. Well, congrats on the second place in the championship. Third place run tonight.
Thank you, guys.
That was the 49 of Alan Elwood, wrapping things up here, Harold. Championship going to Cameron Hearn, our race winner. Second place, James Scioli. Third place, Alan Elwood. And then our remaining top 5 drivers, Ed Robertson and Shane Theron, brings it home third in the standings. James Shanewolf, Connor O'Kresick, Jordan Martin, Danny Ware, and Garrett Grant round out our top 10. And then our final remaining drivers tonight, Travis Beckner, 11th, engine letting go with just 7 laps left. Colin Fambro brings it home 12th. David Weishart finishes 4th in the standings and 13th here tonight. Andrew Player, Forrest Smith, and Rick Christensen all were retired from this event in the early stages. That'll do it here from Phoenix. After a quick look at our Elwood Designs race recap, just got a chance to talk to Alan Elwood from Elwood Designs, but Cameron Hearn winning the race, 117 laps led, only 1 yellow early on in this one, 16 drivers starting at tonight's event. And then our fastest lap actually going to James Scioli there in the number 7 with a 27.386. Well, Harold, I think that's going to pretty much be a wrap on season 1 here in the Lodgebox series. It was definitely a fun season. Lucky to have you up here producing all these great events. And like I mentioned last week, going solo. So it's been an honor having you, man. And we'll get to do it one more time tomorrow night.
Yeah, we get to finish tomorrow night. And then preparation begins on season 2. And now we have a little bit of street cred, right?
Yeah, it's like I said, it was hard to convince people to join something that never even had any proof of product, and somehow we were able to get through this first season. So season 2 is definitely going to be maybe 10 times better than this, and I don't even know how it can get much better, but it's going to be fun.
All right, so we'll ask all of you to join us tomorrow night for the final race at Championship Week here at Avondale, Arizona, for the Phoenix Raceway for the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series. Actually, we were talking about Almost Racing here. I don't remember us doing any ads tonight. But anyway, so Sim Speed Shop tomorrow. We'd like to thank Lodgebox Series for all that they've done, as well as the Swift Lifestyles. We can put up that real quick since it's here. Don't forget to use our area iRacing to save 15% on any order that you get for Swift Lifestyles. And maybe we need some of that stuff would have kept us focused.
There you go. Well, perfectly said there to wrap it all up. And like you said, we'll definitely catch all of you back here tomorrow night. Final race of the season, Sim Speed Shop Cup Series Championship finale. You won't want to miss it. But again, thank you guys for joining us here tonight in the Lodgebox Series, and we'll see you back tomorrow.
See you in the next turn.
What an exciting race, brought to you by Wendigo Studios. Here they come, out of turn 4, to the white flag, and it's 1 to go. Thank you to all our sponsors, drivers, and viewers. We'll see you at the next turn.